Hey everyone, it is Wednesday. We are doing topic number 2 with Anna Kelly. How you doing, Anna?
I'm great today, Michael.
Awesome. This is a question actually came from my session on Tuesday. I asked Omar, who's my expert on Tuesday, this same question. And that is the word legacy. And I want to tackle legacy from two forms. First, what did you take from your parents, right? Think back to being I'll call it a kid, right? A young lady. We'll talk about that first, and then we'll flip the script at some point to what are you hoping to do for your kids. So Anna, when you were, I don't know, my memory's not great, but maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, what were you taking away from your environment?
So it's really interesting, Michael. So my parents divorced when I was very, very young. So I had two completely different family dynamics,
Mm,
one with my mom and one with my dad. And my mom was a single mom, through different cycles. She was married and divorced a couple of times, abusive marriages, not easy.
mm,
While she was single, she worked two jobs. She did whatever it took to take care of us. So she was a leasing office during the day. She was a bartender at night. I babysat and had to learn a lot of responsibility. But the one thing is, my mom loved us and she worked so hard and did whatever it took to survive and to be okay. And even through abusive marriages and, having the strength to leave when it was hard with young babies because of abuse, she did whatever it took to take care of herself and her children. And that's something that really stuck with me and has allowed me to weather storms and challenges of real estate and life to go, you know what, it's whatever it takes. You don't just give up and wallow in it. Life is hard for many, many people. And there's so many things that people don't see every day that are hard. But if you develop resilience and grit and fortitude and a whatever it takes attitude, you'll survive most things. And so I can say I got that, from my mom. And then, from my dad, I really saw, um, you know, a family unit that really put family first
mm.
and that really trusted God through all the challenges. And those are the two things that, they had a lot of challenges too. And, really their faith in God and instilling that in me that I could trust him, I could pray and everything, he would work everything out for our best.
Wow.
And I knew that deep in my core because of how much my parents drilled it into me. And in times that are very, very difficult, I've been able to have that faith that said, okay, I don't have the strength to handle all these things on my own. And I can't see how everything is working out for my good, but I'm just going to have the faith and trust and pray that it is and allow that to instill in me optimism and hope so that I don't give up when things are hard. So, that and just keeping my family more important than money and wealth and all these other things, I think has allowed me to have a better perspective about money
Mhm.
and not to chase it to become wealthy at the expense of my family and everything else. The family has always been first, and the money is just a means for me to put my family first and spend more time with them by creating the freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah, so there's so much in there, and first and foremost, moms. I don't know what it is about moms, but they just have this special strength that nobody else has.
Yeah.
Once you're a mom, you just have this next level. Um, so shout out all the moms out there,
For
including
sure.
yourself.
Yeah.
So mom, and my mom's gonna watch this, and yes, mom, that includes you. Okay, just check. I don't want to get a
Awesome.
text message later saying, "What about me?"
Yeah.
She's wonderful. The other thing is, I wanted to ask about, was investing ever talked about, or was it like my environment where it was always too much of a month and not enough money, and it was just like, what are we gonna rob from Peter to pay Paul?
With my mom, always check to check to check to check to check.
Yeah.
Never had extra money. We'd get a new pair of jeans and a new, designer shirt or two, when it's time to go to back to school. And then, we'd ask my dad, for help. My dad and my stepmom, I thought they were wealthy. They're a
Mm,
school teacher and they were a, general foreman at a like a pipe fitter at a refinery. And so they were average and middle class, American middle class family. And they, worked hard to pay for our college and had to work extra jobs,
mm,
just to be able to pay for things. So they never had a much extra. They saved a little more, and they had that savings to be able to pay for college and pay for, you to get a used car when you graduated and you needed a used car. But there was never any talk about annuities or stocks or bonds. It was like whatever they had in their teacher retirement
Yeah.
or their union retirement, that's what they were going to depend on. So I had zero
Yeah. So
financial
where did
savvy
that
in
come
my
from?
family.
Because you have it. I mean, you had it in you. Was it the fear of missing out? Was it the fear of not having? I mean, where'd that fire come from? Because you dove in and just went after it.
Because, when I was young, Michael, and I saw my dad and my stepmom, I thought people that have money and good jobs and a degree live better. And
Me
I
too.
knew that my mom, she didn't have an education, and she had children and she had, really difficult marriages.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't want that. I didn't want to stay stuck in poverty. And by seeing my friends that had intact family units that both worked, I thought intact family units that have money is the key.
Mm,
And so I just said, I've got to be the best at everything I can. I got to get a scholarship. I have to go to college. And
mm.
so I dove head into being the best at everything so that I knew I could get a scholarship either through my grades or through playing the flute, but I had to get an education. So I thought if I just have a degree, I'll have money and I'll be able to take care of my family and I won't ever have to worry about a man leaving or a man being abusive. I mean, that's just the psyche that I
Yeah.
had.
Mhm.
But it was really about survival and just creating something more like what my dad and my stepmom had
Mm,
than being stuck in the cycle of poverty that my mom had.
mm.
And that was where the drive came. Once I got my degree, I got a degree in business management. I worked full time while I went to school full time and graduated in 3 years. Like the
Jeez.
drive has been there. Like I'm the do whatever it takes kind of person
Mhm.
because I was in such a hard environment and I was going to do whatever it takes to get out. So after I graduated college, Michael, I got called by the head of private banking at Bank of America.
Mm.
One of my roommates had started to work there, and she said, "Hey, you need to get on us. She'd be a great financial advisor." And he's like, "I've heard a lot of great things about you, and you were working while you went to school, and we'd love to put you in our financial advisory training program." And I was like, "Okay." So it wasn't until I started learning about finances through the Bank of America financial advisory training that I really started to think about investments and
Ah,
401ks and I was taught once you have money, here's what you do with it to grow it, create income, and preserve wealth through all
got it.
the traditional investments. Real estate was never talked about. So, but as I learned about investments, I thought one day when I have a job and I'm making a little extra money, I will start to invest in these things. Um, so that gave me more of a financial mind to kind of combine with my drive that wanted to achieve more and build more. But it wasn't really till I started investing in real estate and had a baby and a real why to make more than just something I can retire on when I'm 65, like the American dream.
Yeah.
That my mind started to expand. Like I got to figure out and do whatever it takes. How can I replace my job and stay home with my baby? And
Mm.
as I thought about those things and started seeing people flip houses, it was like, okay, I got to expand my means
Yeah.
so I can get home with that baby. And that started the path of just learning on my own to figure it out, really.
Very, very cool. So let's flip the script now. So we know where your fire was forged. Now you're a mother of multiple children. They're what age range? I forget.
They are 9, 11, 14, and 17.
Yeah. So they're all old enough. I mean, what they're doing today, they're going to remember. It's not like they're 3,
Yes,
right?
right.
So what are you hoping they take away from, the 9-year-old the next 9 to 13 years right through college? What kind of legacy or example, maybe is a better word, are you hoping they take from what you are doing now, right? Post AIG, right? Let's not talk about AIG. Post AIG, you've now been out a year, I think, or a little bit more than a year. What are you hoping they take from that?
Sure. One is that when you really, really want something and you feel led or called or created to be something or to do something, you've got to be able to do whatever it takes. You can't be lazy and expect someone to do it for you. You
Mhm.
can't sit on your video games all day and expect to, be okay. Like you've got to apply your giftedness and your brain and actually put in hard work to do anything meaningful and worth it. So, just the hard work ethic and grit and determination. Our world wants everything easy. And
Yeah.
something is hard and they whine and they cry that it's too hard. Homework. And I'm like, nothing's hard. You're choosing to think of it as hard, but it's really easy. So it's a
Yeah.
matter of change your mindset and your perspective. So in little ways, I tried to get them to think differently. So if you see everything as a problem, you're just going to wallow in problems. If you see everything as a challenge to overcome and a way to shine and a way to use it to grow, then you're going to do a lot more and take a little more, risks and take the bull by the horns and do well. So,
Mm.
that's one thing. And the other thing that I really talk to them about at all ages in different ways is how to master money instead of letting money master you.
Oh,
If we think of, I want I want a soda, so I'm going to spend my money on that and take it out of my piggy bank that's for savings. You're going to blow all of your money on stuff that doesn't matter.
mm,
And you have to learn how to budget and how to wisely use money for things that you need, but then use money for things that you want. So we talk a lot about you have to learn about money. We play cash flow for kids, so they know what a balance sheet is and what an asset is and a liability.
nice.
My son is a senior. I could go out and buy him a really nice car right now. I have the financial means to do that, but we haven't done that. He has my husband's passed down used truck with a lift gate. It has rust all over it. And he has a car that my mother-in-law gifted to him after she bought a new one. It's been smashed on the back of both sides. And he doesn't like, why can't I drive a new car? We have the money to do it. My friend has a Mustang or this or that. And it's because it's not something that produces real value to you. It's just a look at me, I'm flashy. So
Yeah.
instead, let's buy a rental property that brings you cash flow. And if you want to spend that cash flow on your car, then you can go get a car and get a car payment. But
Mm,
I'm going to buy you something that's going to create the means to expand your means to allow you then to go buy the things that you want rather than wasting money on the car payment so you never have enough money for a down payment on a property. So
yeah.
those are just the kind of things that we're trying to instill in them is to think bigger and to master the use of assets to pay for the liabilities.
Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you about in this, because kids are very observant, right? Again, I mean, that's how our fire was forged, right? Was observing, in your case, your mom and your dad's different environments. Your kids are observing very different things, right? Your oldest, was he old enough to remember your husband's debt and AIG struggles, or was he just a baby at the time?
I mean, he was 6. He remembers, and my daughter, who was 4 at the time, they remember sleeping on, yucky flooring while we painted till two
Okay,
o'clock in the morning.
so they have
Um,
some of that. Yeah.
and helping to pull up tile and hate that we had to work 2 jobs,
Yeah.
and so they do remember that. And
Okay.
we've told them part of why we had to do that is because we had too much school debt,
Hmm.
and we had a house payment and a car payment, and we shouldn't have done it that way. And if
Right.
we had not tried to pursue the American dream, but we downsized right away instead of having to learn through that, we would
Yeah.
have been better. So they remember it enough and the pain of having to, 24/7 be with us at another property
Right.
that for a while they were like, we're never buying apartments. My
It's
my oldest two, we hate apartments. Every time I'd buy a new building, please don't buy another building. But you know what, Michael? They saw and they observed that mommy was able to retire.
yeah.
And now she's at 3 o'clock, she's fully present. And now I'm at all their games and I'm at all this stuff. So they've seen that it paid off.
Yeah.
And now they're enjoying a beach house and vacations and a nice home. And they're seeing we lived in a teeny tiny 2-bedroom apartment and
Yeah.
for years and then rented a house. And they've seen the progression of what the hard work has bought us. And now they're like, okay, mom, we want to do real estate. Show us
Mm.
how.
Yeah,
So
'cause
that's the win.
that's where I was going with this conversation, is because you've done some back to our topic number one, is it worth it? You've had a couple of things in the last, I'll call it 6 months, that are like, check, right? The beach house, check. You got your model, the home you've always wished for, check. So what I was wondering is, you know, your four children, when they're looking at this, are they, what do you hope they take away from this, the struggle, the sacrifice led up to this, or are they like, oh, we fancy now?
No, I try to keep them very grounded.
Good.
Yesterday I had a conversation with my 11-year-old who
Mm.
all I want for Christmas, I mean, through tears, is an iPhone 6S. My friends have an iPhone 6S. And I'm like, okay, you're 11.
Yeah, 11.
No, you see your friends all day. You don't need to come home and text with them. And I'm not buying you at 11 years old a phone and then giving you access to social media and all these things. But all my friends have it. And you have money. You could easily afford to buy me this. And I'm like, but just because you have money doesn't mean that you should spend money on things that you don't need and that are not good for you. And so in his mind, if we have money, we should just go buy this and buy that and buy this and buy that. And I always try to pull them back to, no, you have to
Nice.
wisely choose what you buy. And if we had bought all these phones and all these things over the time, we wouldn't be able to have this house that we have. So, I do not want my kids to grow up spoiled little rich kids,
Yeah.
and I also, this is really important to me. I also know that as much as we have now and as thankful as we are for all of these blessings, if it was all taken away tomorrow, Michael, we would be okay. And I've said to my kids, we need to thank God for the things more than we love the things. Like, we will have seasons of life where there's abundance, and there may be seasons of life where there's nothing. And
Yeah.
our choice to be content is a choice. And I've learned that I can truly be content in all circumstances. I mean, I've been in poverty,
Yeah.
I've had wealth, and if I lost everything, we could still be happy. We'd move back into one of our apartment units and we could be content. And I want my kids to learn the value of contentment
That's
and
awesome.
not seeking joy and happiness in things that quickly fade away. So
Yeah.
you pursue legacy wealth, you pursue these things, and you find ways to give back and create legacy that way. But if you learn the value of contentment, then you'll never be a slave to the pursuit of more money so that you can get more things. So
Yeah.
that's really important to me.
Yeah, all of that is wonderful. The one wrinkle I'll add with Teresa, and again, my daughter's older than your oldest. She's 29 now.
Mhm.
So she was in college by the time we really had wealth. So she didn't get to see, I mean, yeah, she didn't get to see what we have now. But the thing for us, and Olivia gets all the credit in the world for this, was happiness. You got to be happy, right? And that's
Yeah,
because both her and I weren't very happy, right? We were working hard because we thought it was our duty almost, right?
right.
So that was a big thing for us when we were raising Teresa, is, do what you love, right? If
Yeah,
you find what you love, and you'll never work a day, or whatever that quote is. That was
100%.
that was one thing we did with her.
Yeah, that's so important. And I have this kind of conversation all the time with my son right now as he's on the brink of getting ready to go to college next year.
Woohoo!
It's, even if you don't love real estate, because not everyone's going to love it as much as I do.
Right.
I love it because of what it's done for us, right? But even if you don't love real estate, if you can create passive income, it gives you the freedom to do what you're made to do and what you really enjoy. And
Mhm.
I said, don't go to school and get a degree just because you think, well, that's a degree that can make me money.
Mm.
It's got to be something you enjoy. And if you don't know what that is at age 18, just be undeclared, take some basic classes and get a business degree.
Go to junior college. That's what I did. I didn't know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
wanted.
I did too.
Yeah.
And so, I want my kids to know, listen, if you decide that you want to be a garbage man or a cook or a waiter or a teacher or a doctor, whatever it is you want to do, I'm going to support that 100%. And that's what I want you to pursue, what you are passionate about, not what I tell you is going to make money. but you've got to add the real estate and the passive income to give you the freedom to always be able to live and enjoy what you do. And if you find that you're doing what you don't love, then you'll
Do
have the
something
ability
else.
to
Yeah,
pivot because you've got this passive income continually coming in. So
totally
that
agree.
is such an important, really important lesson and legacy to leave for our kids, for
Well,
sure.
that is awesome. We will close it right there. I think that's a great place to leave it. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you so much.